Time for a renovation on my ryegrass lawn just here. So I'm going to be doing core aeration, overseeding to help fill in some bare spots and areas that went a little bit off in the dry weather, and also some top dressing as well, plus some fertilizer because I haven't fertilized this area massive amount of time. So get this thing looking schmick and just looking better than it does currently. Yo mate, what up? Welcome to another lawn tip vid. So today is the start of renovation day here on my ryegrass that surrounds my golf green. So the golf green's still coming back a bit from reno. Just those scalpy spots are really starting to come back in color now, so it's starting to look good. But I want to do a renovation in this area because during summer we had a few, well, it was very dry and hot towards the end of summer, and just a few spots died out, thinned out, like for example this area just here. So the goal today is, since cool season grass, or I mean not cool season grass, ryegrass doesn't spread out. There is like RPR ryegrass, which people always seem to talk to me about. Unfortunately, that won't fill in those areas, and if it eventually it might, but it would take you a couple of years. Weeds would take over, and there's a chance that it won't fill those areas in anyway. It's not like warm season grass like couch grass or Kikuyu that will repair that in a couple of weeks in the growing season. So we're gonna have to overseed this area here. Now, we're gonna do some aeration just because we had quite a hot tail end of the summer and I wasn't able to get a ton of water down on this area just here. I was focusing more on the green. And the sprinklers don't quite hit the outside like they hit the green itself. So a couple of different things we'll do today. Step number one is I'm going to cut the lawn a little bit lower than usual, scalp it. I'm not going to go back to dirt because it's not really a thatch issue here. If you found your ryegrass or your Kentucky bluegrass, or this is the same for any renovation process really, is a little bit spongy and thick, you can scalp it back. Now I could take the ryegrass down to dirt if I wanted to, or almost dirt, and it would come back pretty well, just so it's basically brown is where I would take it, which is around about your 5, 6, 7 mil mark when you're not cutting too much into the dirt. You can do that if you want to, but today we're just nipping the top off so it's going to be easier to clean the cores up, and that the seed we put down has more of a chance of coming up through. So the ryegrass looks pretty good, but it's just got those thin spots here and there. So that's mostly what we're going to on top of. I do have a couple of patches of paspalum throughout there as well. It's all starting to die off, so I want to fill in those dead patches of paspalum with the ryegrass seed and put out. The only reason it's starting to die off because our nights are getting cold now, and paspalum just doesn't like those cold nights. It just starts to shrivel up, goes a little bit purple and changes color. But now we'll get my John Deere out, the X380, and just with the catcher we'll take a ton of the grass off the top. Well, not too much to be honest, just enough that it's a little bit shorter and going to be easier to work with. Well, I took the mower as low as it could go, scalped a bit in some areas, not a ton though, which is fine. I'm not too stressed about it, but that's the sort of scalping we got. A couple of long spots here still, but I'm honestly not that fussed about it. It will be fine. Ryegrass germinates pretty quick, like 3 to 5 days, so even if this does grow back a little bit, it's not going to be a problem. And I'm not really doing a very heavy overseed. I'm not going nuts on it. It's mostly for the bare spots where there's nothing, so it's not a problem. So all of our core aeration and cleanup is now done. As you can see, it took out some really, really nice plugs. We got like about 3 inches down, which is awesome, which is what we need just to help relieve some compaction in this area from the summer that we had, get some oxygen down there as well. Also help a little bit to get nutrients back into this area. it was more compacted than I thought it was, unfortunately. Also, huge shout out to the guys at Ecoscapes Lawns and Gardens, and Josh, my brother, for coming and doing it. Josh actually works there now, my twin brother. That wasn't me using the core machine. But if you guys live in this area, make sure you reach out to them. I'll put the details in the description and on the screen here as well. But they do lots of things. They do fertilizer programs. They come in and will apply those for you with their mixers. They can do all lawn maintenance, renovations, everything. They even do some landscaping as well. So make sure you reach out to those guys if you need some help in this area here. So the main reason I'm doing this overseed on this part today is because of the bare areas that we had from good old summertime. So there's just a few spots here and there like this, where the sun's just dried out a ton of stuff and it's just died off. A lot of it's actually come back, believe it or not, but there's still just a couple of problem areas here and there like that. They're probably the worst spots. We got a bit of scalping today, which they'll actually come back because there's still some roots in there. Looks scary, but as long as you've got roots down in there still and you keep the water up to it afterwards, you will be fine. I mean, it's not really that bad around here. There's only one spot over this side of the green, just near the dam there. It's got a few dry areas as well. But we're not going to go a heavy rate on overseeding today. 2 kilos per 100 square meters, and then I'll just put some in by hand in those areas that are bare, like this here. This is how I would treat it. Now, if you had lots of bare areas, I would go a higher rate over the whole area, maybe up to 3 kilos. You can squeeze it to 4 if you really wanted to, and then just a little bit on the spots like this again if you need to. And this spot here got dug out like crazy by the mower. Obviously a ton of sand in there, it just ripped it apart. So I need to level that out and put some seed back in there. But not a huge must. I could honestly come around and just hand do those spots if I really want to, because the ryegrass is pretty thick, but we just want to get that a little bit tighter. There's a few areas that are a little bit thin, so I'm going to go that low rate of 2 kilos per 100 square meters. Thicken it up, fix it, make it look nice and lush for next season. And then to prevent paspalum next year, we're going to go out with some barricade on this area. So some pre-emergent or some Spartan, just depends on what's in the shed. Same active, just different size product, different company that makes them. So I'm using my ryegrass blend here. That's my blend just here. Little collaboration with Advanced Seed. You can see Lawn Tips blend up the top here. 100% ryegrass, just a few different cultivars in there to help with disease resistance. Had no disease in this year, did in the bent grass actually, but not on the ryegrass itself. And just to help withstand that bit of heat. I mean, we still get patches go off because it's ryegrass, and if it gets really hot and you're not keeping your eye on it, parts will go off. Be aware of that. Something I probably wouldn't recommend having year round in a really warm climate, but somewhere like Orange, you could go down in Melbourne, even in Canberra, it works really well if you can keep the water up to it. I've seen some guys do it in Sydney, but yeah, they do struggle a bit because you got to keep the water up to it. Now we're using a drop spreader today. The reason we're using a drop and not a broadcast is because I don't want seed flicking on the green. I don't want it going in the surrounds and wasting a bunch of seed. So we'll do a drop spreader. It takes longer, unfortunately, but it does a better job. We change our settings on here. I always go a light setting first and adjust it on my next run. It's basically a feel thing. I can't give you a number. People always ask me for the number I used. I mean, it comes to a feel thing. So I honestly go lighter first, and then my second pass, I will go, that's heavier actually, sorry, other way around. Yeah, we'll just adjust it as we go. That is all done. Used that full 10 kilos. I went over the spots that needed it really badly. I think this was gonna come up. It's gonna look pure, man. It's gonna look really, really good. So the next step is gonna be covering it with some sand. Now you do not have to do this if you don't want to. If you just wanna leave it there, just be aware that you're gonna need some more moisture down in there because you're gonna be covering the seed with something. So definitely better to put some sand or some topsoil or whatever you used to normally top dress with. Even if it's just really, really light, which is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do a light amount of sand just to cover that seed. more than anything. The good thing is we've got so much ryegrass there anyway, it's going to cover a lot of the seed as it is because it's already dropped down below, and then we'll just rub the rest of it in. You can do it with the lawn level. I'm going to use my drag mat today, but let's get this sand down. So that is all done. We didn't go crazy thick, I'll show you. Anyway, about this, as I said, I'm not too worried about the core holes. They will actually close back in by themselves, which will not be a bad thing and help relieve a little bit more compaction in the long run. So this is probably the first time we're gonna leave them that open and not top dress it, sorry, like crazy. See how it goes. Let's give it a crack. But obviously the areas that were really bare, I did go quite a lot heavier. So as you can see, like quite thick here. But if you rub it in, you can still see the leaf blade popping out the top there, but it actually fills in the core holes itself. So let's get out the mat on the 0 turn and then rub it in. Pretty much nearly done. So that's all done. That drag mat is so good. I mean, if you don't have one, you can obviously use the lawn level, and I did that for the first few times on this ryegrass and the green as well, but that drag mat just saves me hours, man, especially with my crook back. Just helpful, really, really helpful. So now we're gonna put out some fertilizer. This is something you do not have to do, but I recommend you do because it's really gonna help establish that seed, and it's the perfect time of year to get out our autumn fertilizer with some high K in it. So I've got my Lawn Tips Proliferate today. I'm gonna put this on the green surround. Be aware it does have a little bit of a bigger prill or granule than say a mini prill, so it wouldn't work on my green, but it's gonna be fine for anything 15 mil and above. It won't be a problem. You just gotta make sure you get the water onto it and you don't apply it to a dewy lawn. Right, let's put it out, putting it at 2 kilos per 100 square meters over this whole area. If you haven't done your autumn fert yet, I highly recommend looking at some of the Proliferate because of the NPK ratios in there, which are perfect for autumn and setting it up for your next season. As you can see, you got the sprinklers straight on, but that is done. So obviously when the seed germinates, that fertilizer will be ready to help get some nutrients into it. Plus, it's a slow release, so it's actually going to be taken up through the soil as well. And the roots, once it starts rooting down, that should last about 10 to 12 weeks. So we'll get quite a bit out of it, but man, good to get that done. Good to get that overseeding done. I'm keen for this to look $1 million afterwards, and then prevent those weeds in the spring next year, because I did not do it this year. It just irritated me all season long with the paspalum, all a little bit of Patterson's curse that kept coming up, a bit of cudweed. We had even a bit of clover popping up here and there. So pre-emergent, the prodiamine, the Spartan or the barricade is really going to help with that. But good feeling getting 2 renos done in the last 2 weeks. I'm excited. Well, thank you so much for watching. Really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, make sure you flick them down below. All the products I talk about in these videos are available on my website, lawntips.net. Checking that out really helps me just keep doing what I do here. That's what helps fund all these projects that I do. Appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully you learned something from that today. Remember, you can also do renovations this time of year on all cool season grass, warm season grass. You're starting to, it's probably going to be a struggle in autumn time, but towards spring is when we look at warm season grass. But cool season, go for it. As long as you haven't got frost coming in the next 6 weeks or even month, you're going to be sweet. Thanks guys so much for watching. Appreciate you, and I'll see you very soon.